10 games in a row. And this isn't me challenging anybody or anything like that, because how could you revel in the fact that they're 17-6? That would be 23 games into a 162-game season, and then rip people for being so negative after a week, because you'd be at odds with each other. It doesn't make sense to go crazy over a hot streak or go down about a bad start. But all of these games do count. And the one thing that I will push back on is the fact that people are saying, well, who have they beaten? Well, I don't care who they've beaten. They could beat Little Sisters of the Poor. If that's who's on their schedule, that's who they have to beat. And the Toronto Blue Jays, coming into yesterday, had not lost any of their first 7 series. But the one series they didn't win was the split of 4 games with the Yankees. And now they lost the first game here yesterday. Yankees won one of the next 2. That'll be the first series loss for the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays are one of the best teams in baseball, in my opinion. So this ain't a farce, people. The Yankees are a good team, and they're a different team than the one that you remember. They steal bases, they play outstanding defense, and they get clutch hitting as well. So everybody that was going nuts over kind of Falefa and all the other parts that they didn't like. Gleyber Torres yesterday was a hero. We had a guy who called yesterday, said you got to get rid of Gleyber Torres. Well, Gleyber Torres now has a 16-inning streak. He had a 2-run home run yesterday in the game-winning hit in the 9th inning. Everything is going very, very well. I think it all hinges on pitching. Their starting staff has been very, very good. Jordan Montgomery pitched 5+ yesterday, pitched well, made, had one bad inning in the 4th where he gave up 2 runs, but other than that, turned it over to the bullpen. The bullpen is exceptional. And the reason why I use the word exceptional, and people sometimes take exception to that, is most teams have one guy that they trust to close. The Yankees probably have 4 to 5 people that could close on a lot of teams in baseball. So because Chapman was unavailable, he had pitched 2 straight days, they went to plan D. Some might even call it plan E. And they bring in Chad Green, and he just mowed down the Blue Jays in the 9th inning, and the Yankees win their 10th straight game, and they have the best record in baseball. And I believe that the Red Sox are 8 games behind the Yankees, and the Yankees are already taken 2 out of 3 from them. And now the Blue Jays are 2.5 behind. So don't get too low when they start off and lose 2 out of 3 to the Orioles, because that was unacceptable, which we said at the time. And don't get too high here. But if you can't enjoy this and you're looking for negative stuff, which is what Don sometimes hints at with the Yankee Nation, if you can't enjoy what they're doing now and the brand of baseball that they're playing, I mean, we have not seen a good Yankee defensive team in a couple of years. This team plays really good defense. We have not seen a team that steals bases. This team steals bases. We haven't seen that in 4 or 5 years. And guys that have bat-to-ball contact skills, not just strikeouts. I think all's going very, very well, Don and Peter, and I think that Yankee fans should feel good about it, but don't celebrate a pennant just yet.
See, you said it perfectly, Michael, because I can hearken back to last August when this team won 13 in a row.
Yep.
And that was late in the season, and I remember the same kind of conversation. Look, they're playing small ball. They're stealing bases. They're playing well defensively. Yeah, because they were playing really good baseball when they won 13 in a row, and then they followed it up, losing 4 or 5 straight. So that's kind of like the enigma of the Yankees, right, where we know how good they are. I think Yankee fans know how good they are. But the standard of excellence is just so skyrocketingly high that you can't tolerate any negative. And when something really positive like a 10-game winning streak happens, it's like, all right, well, you're supposed to do that. Let's see you win 20 in a row. But the difference is this is a better defensive team than last year, much better. And if you don't think that matters, you don't pay attention to baseball. Because so many games are won and lost based on defense. I know it's home runs and launch angles and exit velo and all that. But if you kick the ball around, you're going to lose. Just ask the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles could have won that game the other day, Michael, if they didn't commit 5 errors.
Yep.
And so when you don't make errors, when you make plays that even wouldn't be errors if you kicked it, are still being made, then you could really do something special here. So I think that's a difference. And they're also in first place. They're not trying to make up ground because of a really, really poor start. They didn't get out of the gate quick. But it's still early enough where they might put the Red Sox so far in the rearview mirror that they'll be forgotten about. So don't ignore it, but I think you said it right. It's significant, it's fun, but there's still a lot of baseball left to be played.
Let me give you some stats that kind of amplify what this Yankee team's about. On offense, American League ranks through May 2nd. They're first in home runs with 32. They're second in runs scored with 109. Third, total bases 320. Tied for third with 14 stolen bases. These are the Bronx Bombers, 14 stolen bases. 247 batting average. That seems low, right? Well, I think the major league average this year is 232. So they're third in the American League with a 247 batting average and second with a 742 OPS. Now let's go to pitching. First in strikeouts, first in wins, first in ERA, second in save, tied for first in allowing just 15 home runs, fourth in batting average against 222. Now, this isn't a perfect stat, but it's a stat. They have a 993 fielding percentage, first in the American League. You keep yourself in the top 3 or 4 in all of those categories, you're going to win a lot of games. And right now, they're winning a lot of games and doing very, very well. And you guys all know, I thought that the biggest competition that they would have would be Toronto. I picked Toronto to win the American League East. And so far, they've taken 3 out of 5 from Toronto. And we'll see what they do tonight. Alek Manoah is 4-0, and he's really handled the Yankees well. And the Yankees send out Jameson Taillon. So we'll see how they do tonight. And then the final game will be on Wednesday. Thursday's an off day. Then the Texas Rangers come into town. So they've got a chance to really make some noise if they keep piling up wins. The one thing about baseball, one thing about sports, you win a game, they don't take it away. It's not like Jeopardy. Yeah. You're not going to lose money when you answer a question wrong. So they can go on a 5-game losing streak. They're not taking these 10 wins away.
No. I mean, Dave Maloney says it with hockey, that points don't go bad.
Yeah.
And it's the same for wins. Wins don't go bad. They still, no matter what happens, that's still going to be a notch on the left side of the standings.
Now, one thing that they have that I think is an exciting component, and they haven't had that for a while. In fact, they haven't had it since 1998. Tim LeCastro is the real deal. He's one of the fastest guys in baseball. And if you didn't watch the game last night, what they did was Stanton led off with a single, which was a really important hit. And immediately, Boone puts in LeCastro to pinch run for Stanton. Now, they've had fast guys before that pinch ran, but they were very reticent to steal. You know, they take, like, even Brett Gardner, a guy I really like, he would take forever to steal a base. He would have to watch 10, 11 pitches, and by then it's 2 outs. LeCastro takes off and steals second base. That sets the whole thing up, and then a couple of batters later, Gleyber Torres singles to right field. Nobody's going to throw out LeCastro. He is to this team what Homer Bush was in 1998. That's a weapon in today's baseball because a lot of teams don't have speed. A lot of teams, they love their catchers that can frame, but they don't really care if they can throw runners out. Well, now the Yankees can take advantage.
It's funny that something that's so old school baseball is something that is particularly beneficial right now. I mean, it's sort of like, Don, we've said this before, that like the trend, it's one of those little things that could start trending back the other way as a result.
Absolutely, Peter.
And it could be what brings us back to that kind of baseball. That was such a great ending yesterday. That was such a great manufactured piece of baseball.
You know, it's interesting because all the fans want speed, but that's a big decision. That's a big boy decision to take Aaron Judge out of a 2-2 tie.
No, Stanton.
I mean, Giancarlo Stanton, excuse me, out of a 2-2 tie, right? You're taking a big bat. You have to steal at that point, right? You can't not steal, because otherwise, why did you take a big bat out of the lineup? Because you might play the next 4 or 5 innings still tied, and you took a big bat out of your lineup. So you have to steal once you make that decision. But, Michael, it's not a no-brainer in this day and age because, listen, you're going to regret not having that big bat later on. Now, it worked out. They ended up winning the game.
But that's also Boone being smart, though, because he knew he had Gleyber coming up, who'd been great. So maybe he felt like that was his best shot at it, to end this thing now.
Well, like to Michael's point, if you did that with Brett Gardner and he waits 11 pitches and is 2 outs and you never steal the base, then what the heck did you take a big bat out of the lineup? So he has to steal, he has to make it, and then you get that run. And if you don't get that run, well, then you take one of a hot player, a big bat out of your lineup for what could end up being another 7, 8 innings of baseball. So it's not a no-brainer, but it worked out, and that's something that you got to appreciate, because I'm not sure, Michael, that the analytics tell you that that's the thing to do.
It's only a thing to do. I mean, analytics of stealing a base, you have to steal it over 80%. And I believe that in his career, LeCastro has stolen 36 bases out of 40. So that is certainly more than 80%.
So Michael, you would say LeCastro is legit one of the fastest players in baseball?
Yeah, I think he has the highest sprint speed in baseball.
So, Don, here's one of those things that I would say is not listed. And maybe it would prove out in analytics, maybe not. But just knowing baseball, if you're highest level fast baseball player and you know how to run the bases, more likely than not, you will be okay. They can get it. If you're that good, to me, I don't know if the analytics would prove it out, but don't you guys feel like it's incredibly difficult to catch someone like that?
It is. Everything has to go exactly right because
It has to be perfect.
He has 30.5 feet per second. So there's 90 feet between bases, and you take maybe a 10-foot lead, 11-foot lead, so you're covering then 79 feet in about 2.5 seconds. So you've got to have a pop time of a catcher of less than 2, maybe a 1.7. You have to have a delivery to the plate. Everything has to go perfect in order to get him.
Right.
It's a worthwhile risk.
But what's happened is, and I don't want to pick on Brett Gardner, but he was the one guy that was this role over the last few years, is he'd be like 17 for 18 on the season, but that's because you're picking your spots.
Right.
I need him to go out there and steal the base, and you don't want to see him get thrown out, but I don't want it to be selective where I know I'm going to make it. In a situation like last night, you have to steal the base. Not like, you want to wait for the right opportunity, but make it quick. You can't see, even though there was nobody out, you can't sit there and wait for 20 pitches for the exact perfect moment to steal. He had to steal the base. So I want to see more opportunities, not, well, look at me, I'm a 95% maker on steals because I'm just too selective. Whenever he's on, I think he's going. He should be going.
I would think so.
If he's that fast, that forces. Obviously, if the situation, but in a situation like that,
he was going to steal.
He's got to steal.
I mean, Boone's telling him to go out and steal second. I mean, as you said, you're not taking Stanton out. By the way, Stanton's been a key to all of this. His ability to play right field, because the best Yankee lineup is with Judge in center and Stanton in right, because then you could rotate that DH spot. And so far this year, Stanton has shown that he could play four days in the outfield per week, and it doesn't affect him. In fact, I think it makes him a better hitter. Yesterday, they had Hicks in left field, but when Gallo's right, and he's playing with a little bit of or he's been sitting down the last couple of games with a tight groin muscle, he's in left field. That's your big backfield, outfield there, and then DH, you could put anybody there. You could put Hicks there. You could put LeMahieu there. You could put Donaldson there, which they've been doing a lot of. Now, if you want to dream a little big, though, so the 1998 Yankees, that's the gold standard for me. That's the best team I've ever seen. They won 114 games, 125 when you count the 11 wins of the playoffs for the World Series. They started 5-4 after 9 games, which is the same as this Yankee team. They opened April 17-6, which is the same as this Yankee team. Now, I don't think this team is as good as that. I don't think it's close to it, but I don't think the teams in baseball are as good as they were then. So the Yankees had champions already on that roster. They had won in 96. There are very few people that have rings on this roster. I believe it's just Chapman. Correct me if I'm wrong. Could be somebody else, but I believe it's just Chapman that's won a ring. So we'll see. But
Rizzo,
it's been
right?
fun. Rizzo, yes. Rizzo won a ring with